The title of my presentation is Research and Innovation for a Geological Service for Europe. So the Geological Service for Europe is the overarching framework for presenting our draft strategic research and innovation agenda, the need for a geological service for Europe. This is the vision of EGS surveys, the collective vision of 37 geological survey organisations of Europe. But why do we need this geological service? Well, it's probably easy to see why we need research and innovation addressing raw materials and energy and groundwater and geohazards and urban development and more, if we consider these in the context of current European policy and social and environmental and industrial challenges. And you're going to hear more about all of that. But how exactly does that relate to a geological service for Europe, and why do we need it, and what is it anyway? So I'm going to begin with a personal story. I've spent almost my entire career working for or in or with geological survey organisations around the world. I actually started out in academia for a few years, but after finding myself spending too much time in a laboratory, I realised that what I really loved about being a geologist was being outdoors on fieldwork, trying to unravel this and understand the vast complexity of the geology that makes our Earth by making geological maps. Like this, but not this one. I didn't contribute to this one, but I know that other people in this room did. Geological maps, as you'll hear later, they're really the language of geologists, the basis for really most of what we know about the Earth, how it works, what it comprises, what its history is. So I was working at a nuclear research facility at the time in Australia, and being dissatisfied with my lab-based existence, I more or less on a whim applied for a job making geological maps of Greenland, which sounded like an amazing job, and I got it, and it was an amazing job. And that led me to a life of geological survey work in Denmark and Greenland and Australia, and now in Belgium, where I'm proud to represent 37 geological surveys of Europe through EGS surveys. This association with a deep and visionary collaboration that has the potential to make a considerable impact on Europe's ability to achieve its net zero industrial ambitions. And this is something that is, of course, underway through the Geological Service for Europe project. But at various points along my journey, I've been asked by people why, for example, I left academia, or why back in the mid-2000s, why I didn't jump to the minerals industry and make twice my salary. But I never really seriously considered it for one reason, which I believe is still at the heart of what we're talking about today in regard to this SRIA and our vision of a geological service for Europe. And the reason is that geological survey work sits precisely at the intersection between academic research, government policy, and industrial application. So geological surveys have a key role in each. I seem to be missing. Here we are. This is what we're talking about. Sorry. So most of the geological surveys of Europe, for example, are research institutes. But they also fall under ministries that deal with environment, energy, industry, and economy, and all of them have a mandate to deliver fundamental geological data and knowledge of their territories to inform national policy, and with direct application to land use planning, environmental management, energy, groundwater, geohazards, urban management and development, and more. So the fundamental work that they do and the data and expertise that they deliver has direct societal application. And it also has direct application to industrial development in raw materials, infrastructure development, energy, and relatively new or developing industries like geothermal and carbon storage. So this unique positioning between government, industry, and academia, the potential for real-world application and impact of the work, is what I've always found personally appealing and fulfilling about geological survey work. So geological surveys have this potential to be crucial in social, environmental, and economic management and development, and this is increasingly the case because Europe and the world are moving into a period of fundamental change of social, economic, and industrial systems as we necessarily tackle changing climate and all of its diverse impacts. So geological surveys are really important, yes, but why do we need a geological service for Europe? Why don't we just continue along the path of a comfortable collaboration and knowledge-sharing arrangement between our respective national geological surveys? Coming back to this map again, geology is different in different countries. So national surveys, while they have broad mandates, will prioritise their work differently depending on the national level geology, targeting perhaps raw materials potential in one country or managing water issues as a priority in another or geological hazards in the next. But the point is that now in particular, Europe and the world are experiencing rapid climate change and the impacts are not just felt at country level. Just last month, the European Parliament passed a resolution in relation to the recent dramatic flooding in Central and Eastern Europe. The intensity and frequency of natural disasters related to climate change is increasing, and these are events that breach borders and cannot be effectively managed country by country. The same is true of our groundwater, which delivers most of our drinking water and a significant proportion of our agricultural water, but which is under increasing and significant threats to both its quality and quantity. And we know, of course, that the same is true for energy and raw materials. Events of recent years, particularly the Russian war on Ukraine and increasing geopolitical instabilities affecting our supply chains, have left Europe exposed to foreign dependencies and to threats to both security and autonomy. So for many crucial aspects of the rapid systemic changes needed to secure European industry environment and freedom, pan-European action is needed in areas where geological survey work is necessary. And we have excellent geological survey organisations, but those surveys have national mandates. They are funded at national level to serve national needs. What we don't have yet is a permanently funded European level service that can build on national level data and expertise to deliver pan-European harmonised data sets, European level expert insights to inform policy, to share best practices, to level up the data and knowledge across Europe, and to feed up-to-date data and knowledge into the systems and platforms used by policymakers at European level. That is what we are working on in the Geological Service for Europe project, providing pan-European maps of critical raw materials, of geothermal heat potential, of carbon storage capacity, of groundwater quality and quantity, and the geological maps and models that serve as a foundation to all of these. But that project will end in 2027, and what then? Environmental conditions will continue to change. Groundwater is dynamic. It will continue to respond to human and climatic impacts. Data and knowledge of raw materials and energy resources will continue to develop. So where will be the coordinated approach to provision of data and expertise to continue to implement the Critical Raw Materials Act, the Net Zero Industry Act, the Renewable Energy Directive, the Nature Restoration Law, the Soil Monitoring Law, to inform the European Civil Defence Mechanism? Where will all these coordinated geoscientific data and knowledge services come from? That's why we need a permanently funded geological service for Europe. And at the heart of a scientific service is the science. That's where this strategic research and innovation agenda comes in. This is the starting point for informing the research and innovation needs across the diverse thematic and policy areas where we must have excellent knowledge of Europe's surface and subsurface, the environment and resources and hazards beneath our feet. In this area, we present our vision of these research and innovation challenges that must be met. The SRIA is presented in 3 sections. First, the geoscientific and digital foundational framework, then the strategic geoscientific focus, and finally, integrating subsurface management and stakeholder engagement. And that's what will be presented this afternoon. This SRIA presents our revised vision for the research and innovation needed to deliver the geological service for Europe that Europe needs to boost raw materials autonomy and strategic international partnerships, to support development of renewable energy industries, to meet our carbon storage goals, to manage, preserve and protect and renew our groundwater, our biodiversity, to mitigate flooding, drought, land instability, to lay the basis for the ongoing need to understand the European subsurface. And it is a true need for Europe's clean industrial ambitions, which will be a linchpin in achieving a clean industrial future for Europe. Thank you.